Hello, this is Luz Ramírez. This is course final, and I titled this Planting Seeds. I'm going to begin my presentation talking about my thesis, and it reads as follows. People learn more from what they observe than from what they hear. Their why determines their what and their how. Thus, excellent teachers become the change they wish to see in their classrooms by innovating curriculum through culturally relevant pedagogy with patience, perseverance, clear instruction, and by creating strong relationships, teachers become seed planters, seeds that one day will flourish in the form of a productive member of society. Know your why. We learn about knowing your why on week 1. Even though I learn a lot throughout every lesson, every day, every week, this is the one that impacted me the most. I learned this through a very famous speaker. His name is Simon Sinek. The video is on YouTube, and he explained in a very nice way that many of the people sets their attention on the what, then the how, and leave at the end the why. He explained that a lot of people are always busy doing the what. The what is how you invest your time. The how is how you get those things done. But then you leave the reasons why you do those things at the very end. To be an effective teacher, a productive teacher, I need to concentrate on the why. My why. My why is based on negative experiences I had as a scholar. My experiences as a student is what inspires me now to become the best I can be, the best teacher I can be for my future students. Growing up in my school years, I was an immigrant. I did not know English. Therefore, I was always set in a very far table where I couldn't interrupt the class without any close guidance or any support or any type of help. Throughout my all 4 years of high school, I do not recall one single teacher approaching me to ask me if I needed help or if I was okay or what were other ways for them to help me. So experiencing this made me think of the many students who come to the United States in the same situation I came, and they're gonna need that extra help, that extra support, that 1% that will make a difference in their lives. That is my why. My why is the reason behind my drive. My how is gonna be through education. I am committed to educate myself, to be flexible. At the same time, once I become a teacher, I plan to be happy, spontaneous, well organized, and always keeping the attitude of a student. I want to learn something new every day. I want to learn not only through personal development, but I also want to learn through my students and through my everyday experience in a classroom. My what? My what is to teach students to believe in themselves, is to teach students to overcome challenges. My what is to never stop dreaming for myself and for them. And most importantly, to never stop trying. After combining this lesson along with other lessons, I came to the conclusion that I am constantly modeling behavior. My actions can be a positive or a negative impact on my students or on the people around me, especially those I love, especially those I want to impact. Therefore, through this lesson, I learned that students will benefit from me modeling positivism, organization, and optimism. I plan to grow in this idea by creating classroom routines. The Secrets to Success book on page 97 expanded a lot on this idea. Establishing routines allows teachers to have better class management. My plan is to always keep my why in mind at all times. This will prevent me from modeling negative behavior because my goal is to be a good influence for all of my students. My why. My why will serve me as a guide for me to choose one area in which I need to improve in order to become a great educator. My why will also help me to keep in mind the devotion or the devoting time I need to invest to develop new and effective strategies to improve instruction in class. During week 2, I watched a YouTube video. Miss May is the one speaking on this video. Her channel is called 15 Teacher. The title of the video is First Year Teacher Tips, and it was recorded in 2018. She said a lot of important information, but 2 of them stood out. The wisest thing that I heard in this video was, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. This made me reflect on the many different ways in which I am capable of communicating. I'm aware that there's communication through the voice, there's also body language, and there's also facial expressions. It's not what I say, it's how I say those things. So this makes me reflect that I have to be aware of not only my words, not only the tone in my voice, but also my body language and my face expressions to communicate effectively and to avoid hurting my students, to avoid creating a negative impact on them. The second advice or the second tip that I really like was the following. If I remain humble through my teaching career, I will always be open to learn from others and receive new ideas. This advice or this tip, I'm going to use it not just for my teaching career, but for everything I do in life. I think that a person who remains humble is capable of growth. But a person who thinks that they know it all, then is closing the door to wisdom. And I definitely don't want to do that. The second video that I watched that I really liked was All New Teachers Need to Hear This. Advice and tips for your first year of teaching. This is a YouTube video by Michelle Fair. Because I want my students to have a beautiful first day of school, I have to make sure that I follow these tips. The first one, get familiar with school ground. Get familiar with the school areas. Learn where the nurse station is, the cafeteria, the gym, and other important areas that I might need to use. Also, get familiar with staff in case I need some help for unexpected situations. Make sure that you have a set of rules and that you make time to go over these rules the first day of school. And make sure that they're simple and easy to follow. The next one is, do not get involved in negative conversations or allow negative comments to influence your actions. This is so true. It made me reflect on the many other times I've been around people who have negative comments about others and unwillingly affects the way you react towards other people. I am a stronger believer that we cannot allow other people's opinions influence my actions. Therefore, I really love this advice. The next one, when setting rules, make sure that you set 3 simple rules. The ones that I choose were the following: respect others and their belongings, be polite, and be an active participant. I strongly believe that if I implement these 3 rules in my classroom, things will be a lot more smoothly. The next one, I will focus on class management before I target other learning areas. I really enjoyed this video and this tip is very useful. She recommended to focus on having control of the classroom before trying to teach, or not teaching in a general area, but before I teach important stuff. Because if I start teaching and I don't have good management, then the class is not going to learn because they're not being active listeners or active participants. Therefore, I will practice the first week to have a good class management so that the lesson time is productive. The last one, or the next one, is create relationship with my students. Ask questions about their life and their wants, likes, and dislikes. I plan to create morning meetings to be able to create this connection with my students. I strongly believe that if I develop a relationship with them, I can gain their trust. And in gaining their trust, I will gain their respect and their attention. I understand that the respect has to be mutual. So my plan is to treat them with respect, with honor, and always expecting the best of them. Putting things from the day before on the past and carrying past problems to the future. And the last one, never stop learning. This is a personal development, personal growth, either through classes, trainings, reading books, talking to other people, conferences, YouTube videos, and many other ways in which I can continue to teaching myself to be a better educator. I'm committed to that. The next area that I want to talk about is learning strategies matrix. We learned about this on week 1, and I really enjoy this activity, and this is why I'm gonna introduce it in my PowerPoint. We learn about behavioral learning theory. John B. Watson is the one who wrote this theory. According to the behavioral learning theory, people learn from their experiences by connecting a stimulus with a reward or a punishment. This learning theory is instrumental in understanding how to motivate humans to learn. John believed that behaviorism focuses on the idea that all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment. This learning theory states that behaviors are learned from the environment and says that innate or inherent factors have very little influence on behavior. Through this theory, I learned that positive reinforcement is the key to behavioral learning theory. Without positive reinforcement, students will stop their responses because they do not want to work. Repetition and motivation is also very important on behavioral learning theory, as this will get the students repeating behaviors that receive positive results. How will this look like? When a student is doing the right behavior, I'm going to prize them either by saying, I have noticed that you've been helping your elbow friend to keep your desk clean. I really like your commitment to keep your area organized. Very good job. I like your choices. So every time a student is doing a good behavior, I will address it. And I'm going to be enthusiastic about it. And I'm going to be excited about it. And I'm going to celebrate it. Celebrate it by singing a song, celebrating by giving the student a star, or celebrating by allowing the student to do 10 or 5 minutes of their favorite thing. But I will address good behavior so that the other students can learn from the good behaviors instead of addressing the negative behaviors, because addressing the negative behaviors turns the atmosphere into very dark cloud, and I definitely don't want to create that in a classroom. A type of specific behavior or action related to behavioral learning theory in dealing of a student could be, for example, when a student does well or is attempting a task in class and they receive a positive reinforcement. I already gave an example about this, but another example could be walking outside the classroom, lining up the students, and as soon as we start walking, address how nice and neatly all the students are walking, address how nicely they are doing quiet walking, and once we arrive to our destination, uh, acknowledge their efforts to be responsible students in school areas. Making the child feel better about the work they are doing or attempting to do it increases their desire to finish such task. So every single time that my students are doing their best, I will acknowledge that, and I know for sure that this will increase their desire to finish every task. I also learned that it's important to keep your students motivated, and this we learned it on week 2. I read the article in Finding the Spark. Here, a good number of tips were given. I only selected 5 of them, and I'm gonna share those with you. Boost students' motivation in 5 important ways. Number 1, making positive changes to the learning environment. If a table setting is not working for the students, I am more than willing to rearrange tables in order to make my students feel more comfortable so that they can concentrate in learning and not in how uncomfortable they feel in their seats. 2, fostering a sense of community in the classroom. Definitely in this advice, I will stress enough to students to help each other, to respect each other, to honor each other, to follow the rules so that nobody is breaking the peace in other people's bubbles. Also, to care for each other and to feel empathy for each other. Number 3, enhancing the interest of classroom activities. My commitment in this tip is to be creative, to always be prepared, to be spontaneous, to be flexible when things don't go the way I plan them, to be able to manage in case something goes wrong, and to always make the class engaging, fun, so that the students don't struggle. Number 4, responding to individual learning challenges. I know that everybody learns at a different pace and they also learn in very different ways. So my goal is to use all senses, all 5 senses, so that I make sure that those who are visual learners have pictures or a video or any other graphs in front of them. For those who are more auditory or those who learn more through practice, I will make sure that I have the right combination of all so that I can ensure the learning of every student. And the last one is building additional outcomes based off for learning. And I'm going to give you, there were many tips, but I'm going to read the ones that I selected. The ones that apply more to my philosophy and my beliefs as a teacher. Number 1 is reduce distraction in the classroom. If there's something in the classroom that is distracting the students, I will remove it. For example, if I have a fish tank and the fish tank is becoming a distraction, then I'll set it in a place where students can still see it, but they're not getting distracted during a lesson. Number 2, create a consistent room arrangement with predictable materials and routines. So my goal is to have a routine, morning circle, and then maybe 10 minutes of to wake up the brain with some jumping jacks or a happy song or some coloring, 10 minutes of something fun before starting the class, and then moving on along the day with the next activities. And I plan to create stations for materials, stations for reading areas, computer areas, etc. Train students to be peer editors or evaluators of others' assignments. So I would like to do this, have students do their own assignments and then exchange assignments with their peers so they can grade each other. That way they know that the same weaknesses or strengths that they have, the other one might have as well, and this helps them create a sense of community. It reduces stress. It also allows them to get new ideas. Like if they didn't have an idea of how to accomplish that assignment, then through this interaction, they can gain new ideas through their peers' work. Hold weekly 5-minute micro meetings with a group or class. This is good to create relationship. I think this goes back to culturally relevant pedagogy, and therefore I find this very important. So this could happen the first 5 minutes of class, or the last 5 minutes of class, or the 5 minutes before lunch, but I need to have that time with the students to get to know them, to find out a little bit more about their culture, their family, what they like, their backgrounds, so that I can better plan lessons that are relevant to their culture, relevant to their daily experiences. Select fun, imaginative activities for reviewing academic material. This is going to include like painting on the walls, or painting on the on black areas outside the classroom. This could also mean little plays or presentations or show and tell. It all depends on the grade I'll be teaching. Encourage active students participation. I will encourage participation definitely by using reinforcements. Keep instruction and assignments short. I will definitely do that. Definitely assign homework and instructions, and I will make it nice and clear and short. Celebrate students' achievement. I will also do that, and celebrate mistakes as opportunities for teaching. As long as a student is willing to correct mistakes, then it's not a mistake. It was a learning opportunity, and I'm going to encourage my student to see it as such. Never shame a student. Never shame a student in front of peers. Always call the student to the side and talk to the student about his or her choices, and teach him how to make better decisions next time. And the last one is support them. I will support students in every way I can to make sure that they feel supported, make sure that they feel that they matter, make sure that they know they're important, and make sure that they know that they can come to me for help instead of feeling fear or insecureness. A type of specific behavior or action related to behavioral learning theory that might be observed uh, as a reward from the teacher towards the student after a hard week of work might be maybe a little pizza party, or maybe a game during lunch and recess, or maybe a show and tell break, but something where students feel recognized after a week of hard work. I'm gonna jump now to building community in the classroom. I'm not sure exactly what grade I will be teaching, but if I'm teaching a TK through second grade, I would like to use this definitely, maybe even third grade. And this is the token system. What is the token economy? Well, let me explain. Tokens are a way of paying children for completing tasks, and the children can then use these tokens to buy desired activities or items. And the picture that you see on the right is a token chart. And every time a student finishes an assignment and is done nice and neatly, then the student will gain a token. And once it accumulates all 10 tokens, then that student can buy an activity that could be maybe a game they like to play on the Chromebook, or maybe 5 minutes at the library in inside the classroom, the classroom library, on quiet time, or maybe a snack that I might have in a treasure box, something like that. So this is going back to the theory I just mentioned. This is a way to reinforce good behavior. It's a way to keep students motivated, and it's also a way to model good behavior to other students. In week 8, we learned this quote, and it was one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to share that with you guys. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. This is so true. This is so true. I've been teaching for the last 2 years, and not academical stuff, but I've been in a different set teaching, and I have learned so much. So I can guarantee that this is true. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. And this was written by Phil Collins. And this takes me to the next theory. This is cognitive learning theory. It's based on what happens instantly as people as young as infants are learning. Individuals learn new things through a 4-step process, which include assimilation, disequilibrium, accommodation, and equilibrium. A huge part of cognitive learning theory is associating all ideas and new ideas in order to help people understand the new information they are learning. In simple words, people take what they already know about something and adjust that knowledge into the new information they just learned. Jean Piaget is the one who came up with this theory, and it's one of the theories that I like a lot. So, to understand his theory, I want to explain what cognition is. So, cognition is defined as the process of gaining knowledge and understanding concepts with the help of our senses, our thoughts, and experiences. The process of cognitive learning theory is better understood if I break it down into each one of them. For example, when we talk about perception, it refers to recognizing the environment, stimuli, and the action while responding to the stimuli. When we talk about concept formation, this helps to organize information accordingly in different categories. For instance, it helps to decide which way to go after seeing a road seen pointing in a specific direction. When you address memory, we learn that memory forms the foundation of the cognitive learning process, as it helps to store and recover information that individuals have previously learned. Moreover, it does not focus on short-term or long-term memory. Instead, it emphasizes creating an environment of mastering a concept that helps them to relate to their prior experiences. This takes us to the application. Application is the component of the cognitive learning approach, promotes the application of new information or skill in real life situation, consequently helping to develop problem solving skills. So this is why I like this theory, because based on what you already know and combining that with the new information, it allows people to create problem solving skills, to make sense of things, to understand at a deeper level what they already know. Therefore, in order to support the cognitive learning theory in the classroom as teachers, we really want to encourage discussions in the classroom. These discussions being made about what is being taught in the classroom. So the discussion has to center into what the students are learning. You really want to avoid any side conversations or any distraction and concentrate on the material being taught, so that the students through the discussion can get a deeper understanding. This takes us to the next tip. More talking in class, please. This more talking in class was if I'm not mistaken, it was an article, and it showed us the importance of small group discussions and the recommendations to make these small groups effective. Teachers can facilitate quick small group collaborative conversations during class and provide immediate opportunities for students to verbally process their learning. You can take different approaches when creating these small groups. Number one, teachers can assign groups. They can be stationed in one place or they can move to different locations. And number two, groups based on interests or pre-assessments data, and using the same information to assign appropriate stations for each group. For this, I can visit Fans of Knowledge. Fans of Knowledge talks about learning more about the student's culture, the student's background, the student's view of life, to better understand them and to better plan a lesson. In this case, to be able to know which group, which member is going to match better in what group. This takes me now to constructivism. What is constructivism? Constructivism is the theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively taking information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representation and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. Teachers can help students set learning goals at the beginning of the year and then help design pathways for students to reach their goals. So constructivism it goes along with Page's theory. Why? Because it's pulling from what students already know into the new information. This pushes students or allows students to engage more in their learning by being active participants instead of passive participants. Constructivism in class focus on students' questions and interests. They build on what students already know. They focus on alternative learning and are student-centered. Teachers have a dialogue with students to help them construct their own knowledge. They root in negotiation, and students work primarily in groups. The teacher functions more as a facilitator who coaches, mediates, prompts, and helps students develop and assess their understanding and thereby their learning. This takes me now to week 8, where we learn about direct instruction. Direct instruction is a skill or facts taught in a very concrete way that gradually releases responsibility from the teacher to the student through modeling and scaffolding. It follows then, I do, we do, you do sequence. In direct instruction, students explore concepts and come to the conclusion about their learning with teacher guidance. And this we're learning on week 5. This is an example of how direct how direct instruction can be implemented in the classroom. This is an example given to us during week 8 by Rachel Dixon. She created an experiment called the Lesson on Light, and in this video the instructor used a model creation to expand on students' learning. The objective of her lesson was to get her pupils to understand that light travels in a straight line from a light source, reflects off an object, then mirrors on then into the eye. Working in small groups in the school hall, Rochelle models what is happening with a torch, teddy mirror, and ribbon to represent the light. She then gets her pupils to build their own model, then draw what is happening on a large sheet of A3 paper. Students were given one more assignment using 2 options. Option number 1, to write down their observations in a paper. Option number 2, to create a diagram. And overall, it was amazing to watch because students used what they already knew into the new material, and they were not only helping each other, but they were also teaching each other. And they all took control of their learning. They all were responsible for their learning, and they showed to be very enthusiastic about it. This is another quote that I really liked. It was written by Moro, an elementary teacher in South Dakota, and he wrote this. If students don't learn the way we teach, let us teach the way they learn. And I think this quote goes along with everything I just explained. If the way I was teaching is not effective for my students, then I'm going to start teaching in the way they learn so that they can continue to grow and develop. Now I'm going to talk about humanistic learning theory. In the humanistic learning theory, students learn from their experience with their peers and through their own personal progress and reflection. This theory was generally supported by psychologists Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers illustrates the core of the theory as a centered perspective to human experience. Each person's experience is influential to how that person interacts with their external environment, specifically how they might interact with other people and objects. These reactions affect a person's phenomenal field. A phenomenal field is one's internal and emotional thoughts. The theory is essentially perpetuated by an individual's ability to grow in a particular environment and how external factors, positive or negative, might hinder or facilitate one's growth. Through this theory, concepts such as free will and intrinsic motivation are also behaviors seen in students. They are encouraged to be involved in their education and make their own choices when it comes to completing projects and choosing topics. Maslow believed that the relationship between teachers and students is both made through cognition and emotional connection. As human beings, there is a need for care, respect, love, attention, empathy, etc. from one another. It is especially important between teachers and their students. A phenomenal field is one's internal and emotional thoughts. The theory is essentially perpetuated by an individual's ability to grow in a particular environment and how external factors, positive or negative, might hinder or facilitate one's growth. Behavior characteristics and techniques that can be observed in a teacher taking the humanist approach include teachers being facilitators of knowledge. When teachers become facilitator guidance, it allows students to become self-directed, which can increase motivation and excitement to learn. Teachers taking away grades and replacing it with self-evaluation is always a way teachers can implement humanism. According to the theory, grades limit students and decrease their interest. I strongly believe that this theory, the humanism theory, is strongly attached to fans of knowledge, a topic that we learned during week 3. When teachers shed their former role of teacher and expert and instead take a new role as learner, they can come to know their students and the families of their students in new and distinct ways. With this new knowledge, they can begin to see that the households of their students contain rich cultural and cognitive resources, and that these resources can and should be used in their classrooms in order to provide culturally responsive and meaningful lessons that tap students' prior knowledge. Information that teachers learn about their students in this process is considered the students' funds of knowledge. For this reason, I strongly believe that morning meetings are a very good way to create not only relationships but also to learn more about our students. These meetings are great to create a sense of community. It can look like a simple circle time where students discuss a topic, or a reading discussion on a calendar agenda. Or teachers could use Google Classroom to take a quick survey at the start of the class. Focusing on a topic of the day, this can be a serious topic, but it does not have to be. Ask students to give feedback on their homework, to talk about how they approach a project, or to comment on the outcome of a big game the night before, or to simply say how they feel when they do certain tasks in class and find out what is stressing your students and what is actually working. The last theory I'm going to talk about is social learning theory. This one explains how environmental and cognitive factors interact with humans, learning and behavior. Bandura suggested that we learn from observing, modeling, and imitating other students. This differs from behaviorist learning theories, which view learning as a direct result of conditioning, reinforcement, punishment, and other cognitive learning theories. Teachers will often support this theory by different classroom management techniques and rewards. And I feel that this theory strongly supports classroom management idea. Teaching 101 is a wonderful book that we read throughout the semester. And in the topic titled can I effectively manage my classroom? We learned this during week 11. I noted 3 main points. For effective class management, this is my commitment to the class. I will take into consideration these 3 stages of discipline. I found this in page 161. Preventive discipline refers to those steps a teacher may take to produce misbehavior from occurring in the class place. Supportive discipline refers to those steps a teacher may take to encourage students' behavior during the first signs of misbehavior. And corrective discipline refers to those steps a teacher may take to restore order once misbehavior occurs. I remember working with a teacher many years ago, maybe like 7 years ago, and she practiced these 3 steps. She was always very quiet, always composed. She never used her voice to intimidate students, and it was amazing to watch. It was amazing. When a student was having a tantrum, she simply addressed the child. She said, "Oh, it looks like you need a moment for yourself. You can use a moment right here with us, or you can go to a quiet corner, and when you're ready, come back." And then she continued to teach the class. And it was great because she supported the fact that the student was not feeling great at the moment, addressed the need, gave the student options, and then she modeled to the other students that the class needed to keep going regardless of whether the other student was willing to participate or not. But at the same time, the student who chose not to participate was not neglected or ignored. She addressed the need. So how can this idea be implemented in the classroom? We learn about this, the 5E model, through different sources. So let me mention to you what these are. The 5 E's is engagement, explore, explain, elaborate, evaluate. I really like this methodology because it's dynamic, it's productive. At the same time, it can help me assess the students, and it incorporates culturally relevant pedagogy and collaborative work. So this is why I really like the 5 E's a lot. How can this be implemented in the classroom? Well, the 5 E's are an instructional model encompassing the phases engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate steps, which educators have traditionally taught students to move through these phases. So this is phase 1. Phase 1 is the instructional model. Phase 2 is the exploration phase. And I'm going to move on to these slides. Engage is transition from I tell them or show them to helping students reflect on what they already know and ask questions about what they don't yet understand, which propels them towards an initial feeling of dissatisfaction. Explore moves away from thoughts such as I give them, I demonstrated, or they look at a model, and towards students themselves unpacking the problem, developing a model, and gathering the data. On the phase explain no longer means turning and talking, having a carousel discussion, or asking questions like what did and what was. Now, it means digging deeply into where the question has been answered or the problem solved and using evidence to support claims. And the last one is elaborate. Elaborate is less about reading, is less about watching or introducing new ideas. It's more about forging the incredible value of concept to self, concept to concept, and concept to world connections that help tie anchor and investigative phenomena together. So how does this look like? Well, first, the instructor opens a lesson with an activity or question meant to engage students, snag their interest, and offer the opportunity for them to share what they already know and the subject. This phase might include helping them make connections between their pre existing knowledge base and the new ideas that will come down the pipeline in the lesson or the unit. Many educators use traditional KWL charts in which students list what they already know and what they want to learn during the steps. At the end of the lesson, students go back to this chart to list what they learn. After engage comes explore, in which students carry out hands-on activities. Through their experiments or other interactions with the material, they deepen their understanding of the content. Once they explore, students attempt to explain what they have learned and experience with help from the teacher, who only then explains concepts or terms encountered during the exploration. From there, students elaborate on their understanding, applying what they learned to new situations to deepen their skills. In the final phase, students evaluate, reflecting on and providing evidence of their new understanding of the material. As an example, I want to use this ecosystem. If I was a teacher, then I will present an ecosystem that I already have created, and then the materials for the students to create their ecosystem. And we're gonna put the ecosystem under a yellow light to keep the fish alive, and then at the end of 10 days the students will gather data, information, and conclusions. Some fishes will survive, some fishes will die, and we're gonna discover the reasons why one survived, why the other one didn't. And this is gonna be fun, dynamic, and it meets the 5 E's criteria. Okay, this is all for me. I am highly grateful for your attention. It was a great journey. I am very excited because I'm going to a new challenge, a new phase in life, and I'm sad to say goodbye, but it was also nice to recognize that this adventure was great. Thank you for making this journey amazing. You have a good rest of the day, and good luck on everything that you do. Bye bye.